What about the energy network in South Australia? Has this been a problem for you? How concerning is the reliability and the cost of energy in South Australia?
Energy obviously is an input cost for us, but it's not what's driving this decision.
Not driving this decision, but has it been a concern for you? Has it been?
I have to say it hasn't been a major concern for us.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. And that was Coca-Cola Group Managing Director Alison Watkins telling Sky News why they're shutting down their Adelaide bottling plant with the loss of 180 jobs. And Sky's Laura Jays was very keen to hear if South Australia's power problems were to blame. And not happy with the answer no, she asked again.
We saw recent blackouts. Did that affect your business, the last 3 months and then the big one last year?
No, these are not factors driving the decision at all.
Not this decision, but, business as a whole, the energy market in Australia.
Once again, the answer was no. And earlier in Adelaide, another Coca-Cola executive, Barry O'Connell, had said no as well.
So to what extent have power prices, payroll tax, etc. here in South Australia played a part?
I would say to a very limited extent, because this is much more about our Australian footprint. It's about a strategic decision and investment over the next 5 to 10 years.
But some people just can't take no for an answer if it doesn't fit the story they want to write. Step forward, the Australian's South Australian Bureau Chief, Michael Owen, who began his piece on the closure like this.
Coca-Cola is refusing to reveal its power bill as it ducks a political storm over whether South Australia's expensive and unreliable electricity supply contributed to the shifting of its Adelaide production to Queensland and Western Australia.
Elsewhere in The Australian, others were also ignoring the inconvenient fact, with Judith Sloan's column headlined,
Coke closure shows South Australia's renewables experiment has failed.
Oh, really? And what did Sloan have to say about Coke's insistence that power prices were not to blame?
Companies can often be tactful at this point, but the reason given by the company for the closure of the plant, expensive logistics, is ominous.
Ah, so Coke was just being tactful and lying about the real reason. And sure enough, that was Ray Hadley's line on 2GB as well.
180 people will lose their jobs. Now, for some reason, in announcing the closure of the plant yesterday, Coca-Cola chose to be tactful. Its spokesman repeatedly blamed expensive logistics for the company's decision. But we all know that's code for unaffordable, unreliable electricity. Once again, the consequences of the South Australian government's ridiculous obsession with wind farms, its fragile dependence on other states for reliable coal-fired power, is on full display.
Can you believe it? Now, some businesses certainly do have problems with power in South Australia, and there is a debate to be had about renewables and energy security. But to say again and again that South Australia's power woes have caused Coke to close its plant in Adelaide is just wrong and ridiculous. But to make doubly sure, we went back to Coca-Cola to ask,
is Coca-Cola Amatil simply being tactful by not revealing power prices and supply as key factors behind the closure?
And the company told us,
no, electricity supply or prices were not a factor.
So that has settled that. And now let's turn on the TV and tune into Nine's A Current Affair, which has once again been busy spruiking magic medicines.
It's been more than 6 years in the making, and finally, researchers say they've made a breakthrough.
The results are pretty clear and really promising.
A natural treatment for ADHD that costs less than $20 a week. It sounds too good to be true, but not anymore.
Too good to be true? Heavens, no! Lipronol is not just a breakthrough, it has the potential to change the lives of ADHD sufferers, The Current Affair claimed. And with help from Blackmore's PR company, it then lined up several kids and parents to tell us how much difference it had made.
I could socialise better, I could exercise better, I could just think so much clearer.
My schoolwork has improved since I've been taking it.
I was just surprised that something which is so readily available worked as well as it did without any negative effects.
Sounds great! And even better when you know how exotic this stuff is.
In the clean, clear waters across the ditch lies the New Zealand green-lipped mussel.
It's a treatment that can help a percentage of people get significant relief.
Back in 2010, when ACA did its first advertorial for green muscle extract, which is what Lipronol is, it claimed the pill relieved arthritis. Now it's curing ADHD. But what is the evidence? Well, ACA was reporting on a study by Professor Con Stow from Swinburne University, funded by, wait for it, Pharmalink, the Cayman Islands company that licenses Blackmores to manufacture the drug. This is not something viewers were told. But worse than that, ACA also forgot to tell us that the study found the drug didn't work.
The results of the present study did not support the hypothesis that PCSO524 improves parental reports of hyperactivity, inattention and impulsivity in children ages 6 to 14 years over placebo.
Yup. According to parents of those ADHD kids, Lipronol worked no better than pills which had nothing in them. So, how does that square with the current affairs claim that it will change the lives of ADHD sufferers, or that it is a breakthrough? It doesn't. As Adelaide University psychiatrist Dr. John Giuradini told Media Watch,
it couldn't be further from the truth.
And Dr. Giuradini's verdict is echoed by another ADHD expert, Dr. Darryl Efron from the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, who told us,
no, it's not a breakthrough at all. It's a negative study. For kids with ADHD in the study, the drug did not help more than a placebo.
Amazing, eh? So, how did they get it so wrong? Well, Professor Stow told Media Watch in a statement that he certainly never called it a breakthrough and that ACA misrepresented him. And he told a colleague via email,
I was interviewed for about 30 minutes where I described in detail the methodology and limitations of the study. However, ACA used 2 sentences.
But some of the blame for turning Lipronol into a potential wonder drug must go to Blackmores and its PR company, who put out this media release, which quotes Professor Stow describing the study's results as
very exciting,
and which highlights claims of tangible improvement in kids' behaviour, attention and hyperactivity, which A Current Affair faithfully repeated.
They found a 34% improvement in bad behaviour at home, a 13% improvement in attention, and a 10% improvement in hyperactivity.
Problem is, if you read the study, it's clear those improvements do not apply to children who've been diagnosed with ADHD, only to those with milder symptoms. And as Dr. Efron told Media Watch,
this is not new. We've known this for a long time. We sometimes recommend fish oil in kids who have mild ADHD.
Fish oil? What's fish oil got to do with it? I thought this was green-lipped mussel extract. But turns out the active ingredient, omega-3, is the same, which makes ACA's $20 a week not cheap for parents at all. Or as John Giuradini puts it,
well, it's wasting their money on so many levels.
And there is more bad news for A Current Affair, because Australian law lays down strict rules about advertising complementary medicines, and that's arguably what ACA was doing. As a result of which, Professor Giuradini is lodging a formal complaint to the Therapeutic Goods Administration, arguing that Nine's broadcast breached the Therapeutic Goods Act, the Therapeutic Goods Advertising Code, and the Commercial Television Code of Practice. Nice one. If the programme is judged to have been an ad, and the complaint is upheld, A Current Affair has won the trifecta. But now, to a headline story about wife-beating that, as far as we can see, was completely ignored by the Fairfax big city papers, by The Guardian and by most of the ABC.
Keysar Trad, violence is a last resort.
A prominent Muslim leader has apologised for statements conceding his religion allows for a husband to beat his wife as a last resort, saying he was clumsy in a television interview.
Last Wednesday night, Keysar Trad, who is the president of the Australian Federation of Islamic Councils, went on Sky's Bolt Report and told his host,
before you even consider using your hand, before you consider any act of violence, have you checked box number 1, which is counselling? Have you checked box number 2? What does counselling entail? Well, maybe next time you should bring her a bunch of flowers. Maybe next time you should bring her a box of chocolates. Maybe next time you should take her out on a dinner.
If you still don't see sense, beat her. That's what this is.
Now, anyone condoning domestic violence, even as a, quote, last resort, should get called out for it. And next day, Trad was. On news.com.au, the Daily Mail and the Herald Sun, to name a few. Debate also raged on morning TV, where Trad was live on Studio 10. And it continued that evening on A Current Affair, where Trad was again under fire.
Not surprisingly, the Muslim community and domestic violence advocates have been outraged, and today he's been forced to backtrack.
As indeed he had on Facebook and on Twitter, which of course gave way to another round of headlines, including at SBS Online and even the New York Daily News. So, the story unfolded over 2 days and, according to Isentia, generated more than 100 stories. But the Fairfax Metro papers and The Guardian appear to have ignored it completely, as did almost the entire ABC, where it was not on the 7 o'clock news, not on 7:30, not on Lateline, not on The Drum, and not on the big radio current affairs shows, AM, PM, The World Today and RM Breakfast. And this strange lack of interest was much as Immigration Minister Peter Dutton had predicted on 2GB when the story first broke.
Well, where are the feminists? I mean, where is the ABC on this rail? I mean, the ABC presumably are running this at the head of their bulletins. This will be on the 7 o'clock news. It'll be on the 7:30 report tonight. I mean, the ABC and Fairfax will be outraged by this. But you know what? I suspect they'll have nothing to say about it because they're hypocrites. If it was you or me or, somebody else who made such an outrageous statement, they'd be calling for us to be taken into the town square and dealt with.
And he has a point. The national broadcaster should have been all over the story, as should The Guardian and the Fairfax papers. But they were all very busy looking the other way. And finally tonight, to President Trump's latest and most worrying attack on the media.
And I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake. A few days ago, I called the fake news the enemy of the people, and they are. They are the enemy of the people.
That was Trump last Friday. And who was he branding enemies of the people? Well, all the big TV networks for starters, apart from Rupert Murdoch's Fox News. Or as Trump tweeted last week, NBC News, ABC, CBS and CNN, along with the, quote, failing New York Times, whose paid subscriptions are actually going gangbusters as a result of Trump's attacks. But Trump's enemies of the people don't end there, because later that day, CNN and several others were sensationally locked out of a White House briefing with Press Secretary Sean Spicer.
The Los Angeles Times, Politico, BuzzFeed, the BBC and The Guardian were also among those excluded. When reporters from these news organisations tried to enter Spicer's office, they were told they could not attend because they were not on the list of attendees.
Those who were barred from the briefing were both angry and appalled, with CNN issuing a statement to say,
"This is an unacceptable development by the Trump White House. Apparently, this is how they retaliate when you report facts they don't like."
While the New York Times also slammed the move as unprecedented and unacceptable.
Nothing like this has ever happened at the White House in our long history of covering multiple administrations of different parties.
But the strongest and most eloquent condemnation of Trump's war on the media has come from former presidential candidate and senior Republican Senator John McCain, who was asked last weekend by NBC what he thought about Trump's enemy of the people jibe.
I hate the press. I hate you especially. But the fact is, we need you. We need a free press. We must have it. It's vital. If you want to preserve, I'm very serious now, if you want to preserve democracy as we know it, you have to have a free and many times adversarial press. And without it, I'm afraid that we would lose so much of our individual liberties over time. That's how dictators get started.
Now, the terrifying thing about Trump's media war is his supporters just love it. While 2 polls this month show Trump and the media are almost equally distrusted, the figures reveal a deeply divided America, with 9 out of 10 Republicans in the Emerson College poll saying they believe Trump is truthful and the media is lying, while around 8 out of 10 Democrats take the opposite side. So, with the faithful cheering him on, it's no surprise the president is escalating the war, with one tweet this weekend to say he won't be going to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and another calling CNN and the New York Times a great danger to America. There's little doubt that feeling is mutual. It's a label many in the media would apply to him. Scary stuff. And you can read more about tonight's stories on our Facebook page or our website, where you can get a transcript and download the programme. You can also catch up with us on iView and contact me or Media Watch on Twitter. And don't miss Media Bites every Thursday on Facebook, Twitter and our website. But for now, till next week, that's all from us. Goodbye.